Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of A Wee Touch of Madness, the podcast brought to you every single week by me, Loz, the funny guy, apparently so, because I tell myself that every week and the joke is still not funny. This week, I'm welcoming back Mr. Ken Tucker with me for his part 2 episode. How are you doing, mate?
I'm doing groovy.
You're doing groovy. So, have you been up to much since the last time you were on the show?
Mainly just writing songs and trying to set up the. I'm having another documentary shot about me, and there's someone coming up from Kentucky next week who's going to stay here a few days and just basically follow me around and shoot some of my childhood homes and interview my friends and fellow musicians. Talk about my life growing up in a small town and being a musician.
Well, that sounds interesting. When's that getting shot?
Well, some's already been filmed. My friend Brandon Cioto, who is a label mate of mine, did quite a bit already. And but this part is being filmed next weekend, and she's going to be here from I think like Saturday to Monday, and just kind of follow me around and ask me questions and filming a variety of different parts of my life from my past and from the present and maybe from the future.
And maybe a little bit of the future.
Yeah. When I am a millionaire or a billionaire, living off my royalties from being on A Wee Touch of Madness.
Well, if I can live off the royalties from being on A Wee Touch of Madness, I would know I definitely would have made it. And that is good advice for any future guests I'll have on the show. When you can live off the royalties that you make from being on the show, you know you've made it.
That's right.
So I noticed you have your guitar with you today. So are you going to be playing us a little something later on?
I thought I might use this for decoration.
For decoration.
But I will play it. I will play if you wish.
Oh, right, okay. If you insist.
That's all. I will do it for you.
Oh, thanks. You're so kind. If I had a shave, you'd see me blush. So now, how? Now, the last time you were on the show, you were talking up your new album, Naked. How did that turn out?
It turned out great. The sound is fantastic. And once my record label got a hold of it and they did some EQing and some mastering, it sounded even better. And it's a real niche market, though. So there's it's not selling great, but only because, like I said, it's a niche market and it's just straight acoustic, just me and my acoustic and singing. There's not a big bunch of musicians behind me like normally I have. And but there are some diehard purists who like that kind of music. And so, they're buying it. But like I said, I just did it. I did it for free. I recorded it in my bedroom. It started out as a test of a microphone my brother bought me. He bought me a Blue Yeti microphone as a gift, and so I was testing it out on my recording software, and so I'll just hook it up and play and sing a song into it, see how it comes out. And so I did that, and it sounded amazing. And so I said, well, I think I'll do that again. I did another one, and it sounded just as amazing. And here's my thought: I think I'll do a whole album that way. There you go. That's how it came about.
I did like the album. I did listen to it after I had you on the show the last time. I did a couple of songs that obviously we played on the show. Obviously, I listened to them quite a bit when I was editing the episode. I had those songs on repeat just to put them in, but then I listened to the album and I did really enjoy it myself.
Well, I'm glad you liked it. Those are a variety. There's a variety of older songs and songs I just wrote for that particular project.
Yeah.
And so it was a mix of old and new.
What about your future plans though? What have you got planned after the documentary? Are you working on another album or
Oh
anything?
yeah. In fact, I'm setting it up. I was out last night recording train sounds because I live pretty close to a track. So I have this voice recorder on my phone. Every time a train came by, because where I live, I can get a good echo. And so I recorded the train whistles. So I'm going to add those sound effects to my album because I didn't want to just get something off. I wanted to have a personal touch to it.
Like an authentic sound to your
Yeah,
authentic
nothing
music.
more authentic than the authentic thing.
Yeah.
And so since it goes within about a half mile of my residence, I thought, well, I know this. I know that I hear that sound every day. So it sounds really cool. It got a nice natural echo, and so yeah. And in fact, I'll play you the song I'm going to record it with in a little bit.
Oh, getting a little sneak peek on the future project.
Little sneak peek, baby. A little sneak peek.
Little sneak peek.
Sneak peek.
Well, when the album is done, let me know and we'll do an album release show.
Well, that would be so incredibly awesome. I can hardly tell you how awesome it would be.
And everybody, if you remember from season 4's episode 1, we actually did that recently with Bitch and Hour's latest album release, Screams and Bisexual Panic. And if you haven't checked out that episode, and if you haven't checked out their album, I highly suggest that you do. It is an incredible album by incredible musicians. But yeah, go back and watch that episode if you haven't already, or listen to it on Spotify.
That means my seed has got a pretty boring title. It's called An American Poet.
An American Poet. Yeah. An American Poet, or Screams in Bisexual Panic.
Yeah. I'm not that creative. I thought about calling it Syphilitic Crack Horse.
Syphilitic Crack Horse. Now that is the album name right there. That is a great fucking album name.
Yeah.
Syphilitic Crack Horse. I like that.
Yeah.
So there you heard it there, everybody. As soon as Ken has done his next album, he's going to come back on the show and do an album release episode like I've already done. And hopefully, and if anybody else out there, if you've been on the show or you want to be on the show and you want to do something similar to that, let me know. We'll get you on and we'll do just that. So, how that guitar? What's the sticker on it? I can't really see it from here.
Oh yeah, these are. I endorse a wonderful guitar slide company called Rocky Mountain Slides. They're based out of Colorado.
Right.
And they make handmade guitar slides that are absolutely the best in the world. And in fact, I was going to have one, but I forgot it. It's at my apartment right now. I could take about 6 minutes to go grab it, but they're. In fact, I should honestly. I could walk down there and be back in about 6 minutes. But yeah, it's Rocky Mountain Slides. You go to RockyMountainSlides.com, and they're handmade. They actually measure which slide finger you're going to use, which finger you're going to use for slide, so they can get a personal fit for it. They're made out of earthenware, but they're made out of earthenware. Like I said, they custom fit the slide to your hand. They have you measure your finger, which sounds kind of disgusting, but it really works.
Okay. Well, if there's any guitarists out there, then I'll definitely hit them up. And if you missed where it was, I will have the website floating on the screen somewhere. Yeah. Or if you're listening to this on Spotify, I'll have it down in the description.
Tell Doc Ken Tucker sent you. Doc's a great guy. He's the owner.
See, there you go. Tell Ken Tucker sent you, and I'm sure they'll look after you.
Yeah, they will. Doc's a great guy. But yeah, he sent me a bunch of these stickers. So my grandson found them. And my 2-year-old grandson, he started putting them on his belly and his face and his arms. He thought they were tattoos. And so I had to get him away from him because everything was getting covered with Rocky Mountain Slide stickers.
Yeah.
Give him one, he takes 1,000. So that's a kid for you.
Yep.
But yeah, we had yeah. So I put them on my amplifier. I put them on my other guitars. I just put them everywhere on my instrument so everybody can see and ask, what does that mean? And I get it. It's Rocky Mountain Slides.
Rocky Mountain Slides. I don't think I'm going to forget that name. The amount of times that you mentioned it.
Yeah, I mentioned Rocky Mountain Slides a lot.
Yeah.
Just like Count Zero Records, my record label, www.countzerorecords.com.
And that will also be up on the screen as well, or
Yep.
the link to that in the description in case you missed it.
Yep.
So, how have you been keeping them, Ken, since the last time that we spoke? Because obviously you have me on Facebook, so we do talk to each other on Facebook a little bit. But like since the last time that we spoke, how have you actually been keeping?
Well, I mean, apart from the fact that I really messed my right side up in that car wreck, and that my hip and my knee still I will continue to give me trouble probably the rest of my life. And
Yeah.
but that's a small price to pay to be breathing.
Okay. So, Ken, what do people misunderstand about you and your music?
That well, the main thing is that it's written for a old opera singer or no. I think the main misunderstanding is that I'm not I'm just not a pop guy.
Mm.
Especially around here, the local bands, they typically all play the same songs off the same, uh, radio stations that everybody listens to. It's either classic rock, country, or heavy metal,
Yeah.
big hair metal. And it's not a big area around here for original music.
Yeah.
Now you can slip it in from time to time, but if it's all you do, now I do covers, but I don't like to. But if I'm doing a job and they say, "Well, we want you to do covers," well, I'll do covers. But there's some cover songs I deliberately refuse to learn because I'm so freaking tired of them.
Right.
You only hear the same song 80 million times before you want to just take a hostage. And so but I learned, like, if someone wants to hear a certain artist, I learn their more obscure songs.
Okay.
And like someone wants to hear Johnny Cash, they want to hear either Folsom Prison Blues or they want to hear The Man in Black. Well, I'll play Delia, which is really, really, really obscure Johnny Cash song. And
it's not that
or if they
obscure.
want,
I've heard of it.
yeah, well, people around here, they don't know it because they think Johnny Cash only recorded 2 songs, and or Ring of Fire,
Mm.
But like if someone wants me to play, say, uh, Leonard Skinner, I'll play something like what's that one song? I can't remember the name of it. And, if I wasn't on the podcast, I'd know it right away. Anyway, I'll play a more obscure Leonard Skinner song. I won't play Free Bird or Sweet Home Alabama because technically I know them. Technically,
Right.
but
Technically.
but they recorded other songs that are better, quite frankly. And I used to play They Call Me the Breeze, so I got really tired of that. But Curtis Lowe is the one I usually play,
Right.
and because I love that song. And but it just comes down to what they misunderstand is, especially now, not so much in Europe. In fact, not in Europe at all. I mean, people in Europe, that's my main audience.
Mm.
I have more fans in England than I do the United States.
What has been the biggest challenge that you're currently facing in your music?
Well, that's kind of a multifaceted question. Uh, the biggest uh, challenge I'm getting is this, are facing is just mainly getting an audience here.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it's it's just the very fact. Like I said, most of the musicians around here are weekend warriors. They do this. This is their thing to do for fun. And make a
Mm.
little extra money. They're not trying to make a career out of it. And they're good musicians. Don't get me wrong. Some of them are really, really good. But their whole thing is just to go out and play songs they like for people that like the songs. And when I go to do shows, I'm playing my stuff. And there's a few of my diehard fans that come and see me yell, shout out requests of my music, which is nice. But typically, it's like, do you know any Bob Seger? Do you know Bob Seger? That song, Turn the Page, it's kind of a blues song. Or if you play Mustang Sally, my grandma will dance for you. It's like, well, there's incentive right there.
Oh
You
yeah,
know,
definitely.
yeah, nothing I want to see more than an 80-year-old woman that's drunk dancing to a song that I'm playing. Um, but it just gets to the point where I don't want to play around here anymore
Yeah.
because I keep running into the same stuff. It's always different people requesting the same songs, and so, well, you ought to play it because you got to do what your audience wants. Say, well, maybe I don't want that audience.
Mm.
I mean, it's not an insult. These people like what they like, and that doesn't make them any different than me. It's just that I have different tastes and I have different goals, and that goal, one of the goals, is not to be a musical prostitute. You
A
know,
musical
yeah,
prostitute. That's a good analogy. I like that one.
yeah. And if I want to play, I'd rather travel a few extra hours to play my music for a crowd that appreciates original music.
Mm.
And so in this general area, like if I go to Chicago, they want to hear original music. They want to hear original blues, and they mean blues. They don't mean rock and roll. They mean blues. So, and I one guy said, there's a difference between rock and roll and blues, and a lot of white boys don't know that. And that's
Yeah.
the truth. That is the truth. And if you're playing rock and roll in Chicago at a blues club, maybe two songs in, you'll make it, and then they'll be running you out of town on a rail. So you got to really know your blues to play at Chicago. Same thing with Memphis. Go down to Memphis. They want to hear the old Delta stuff, or they want to hear just real blues, and they want to hear that era of blues, that area of blues, that particular regional style of blues. But they want to hear blues. They don't want to hear rock and roll. And so that's just part of the, that's just part of it. So I'd rather travel a bigger distance to play music that I write.
Yeah. So then, what from all that? Obviously, you're saying that you have to, like, if you want to get to the audience that you want, you have to travel like a couple of hours either to Memphis or Chicago. What in that? What has been the most important lesson that you have learned about doing your music and having to travel around to play it?
Oh, the most important lesson. Oh, there's several lessons I learned the hard way, especially when I was younger. Well, at first lesson, like I said, blues and rock and roll are not the same thing,
Yeah.
and you got to make sure that you know the difference when you're playing, and you got to play. You got to play blues if you're going to play in a blues club, a real
Mm.
blues club. Um, Second thing I think is just that know your craft. I mean, you got to be able to play it well.
Yeah.
Because you're competing with everybody when you're going down to a like say a blues club over in let's say Mississippi.
Yeah.
If you're not every bit as good as the guys come through there regularly, you won't work there again. You got to know your craft.
Yeah.
And so I rehearse a lot, and Another thing is when you're, like I said, there's a difference between Chicago blues and Memphis blues and St. Louis blues and Kansas City blues. There's differences. So know the differences. When you're in Kansas City, play the kind of blues you like in Kansas City. It's still blues. But you can take your original music and you can nuance it to each different area.
Yeah.
So, but
So
yeah,
then,
you know the
so
regions where you're playing.
yeah. So then, in your opinion, then what would be the most important like trait or strength or personality that someone would need to be able to play in those sorts of areas of music?
I'd say on top of playing the music well, I'd just say authenticity.
Just to be authentic and genuine.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because I mean, a lot of these, especially old blues guys, they can smell bull crap a mile away, and they
Mm.
can tell a faker a mile away. And it's like that time I played in St. Louis. I don't know if I told you the story or not. My neighbor, I lived in St. Louis, and my neighbor was a blues guitar player who was a
Right.
funeral director.
Yeah, you haven't told me this one before.
Okay, my neighbor was a funeral director, and he was a blues guitar player, right?
Right.
A little, he might have been 5'5" if he was an inch, and he was always wearing this really pristine white, perfectly clean and perfectly pressed white suits. And he was so dark, but his suits were so white. He had his wide brimmed white hat. I never saw him in anything but these white suits because he must have been working. He was like I said, a funeral director, so he must have been working every day.
Yeah.
But one day I walked out of my apartment and he just happened to catch me. So he goes, "Hey Ken, come here, boy, come here." So what's up, sir? He goes, "Hey, is he busy tonight?" I said, "Well, I don't think so." He goes, "Well, do you want a gig?" I said, "Well, I can always use a gig." He goes, "Well, you see, I got my bands playing down here on the south side of St. Louis, and I got me two funerals today. I can't go. So would you fill in for me?" "Oh yeah, I'd love to." He goes, "Okay, now here's the address. Be here at 7 o'clock. Not a minute later. Be there at 7. I said, "Gotcha." So I got my typical band clothes on. We got a nice clean T-shirt, my blue jeans, and got my old Stratocaster out, my old amplifier, and threw them in my car and went down to this club. And I got to the club, and it looked like an old garage that was about to fall in on itself. I
Right.
mean, some of the outside walls were tin, and the next one was a board. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, what I gotten into?" So I go up and open the door, and have you ever seen The Wizard of Oz?
Uh-huh.
Remember when Dorothy went from black and white to color?
Yeah.
That's what happened. I opened the door and it became a 5-star restaurant. I mean, all the tables are covered in red velvet. They had candelabras, and people were wearing tuxedos and evening gowns on the women. Everybody had jewelry, and here I am in this nasty looking T-shirt and blue jeans, the only white guy in the crowd. And I go up there, and the guy looks at me and goes, "Is you the guitar player?" I said, "Well, think so." He goes, "Okay, you sit up. We get ready." So I sat up, and he said, looked at me and goes, "Do you know Mustang Sally, boy?" "Yeah." He goes, "What key do you do it in?" I said, "Well, you usually C." He goes, "Okay, boys, Mustang Sally in C. 3, 2, 1, go." So I had a rhythm guitar player behind me,
Uh-huh.
and the band was like just, you could set a metronome to this band. Just a bunch of 60, 70-year-old black dudes have been playing their whole lives, man. They're just jamming along. And I'm doing like these little licks, like in between the singing. And
Right.
here comes the solo, and so I'm doing like yeah. And this guy keeps looking at me like this. Every time I do a lick, he'll give me this look like, huh. I'm thinking, oh man, this guy hates me. He hates me. And so after the first song, he covers the microphone up with his hand, looks at me and goes, "What is your name, boy?" I said, "My name's Ken, sir." He goes, "Hold on for a minute, Ken." He gets the microphone. He goes, "Ladies and gentlemen, give me your attention." So everybody looks at him and goes, "I want to introduce you to my white soap but a can. He white on the outside, but he black on the inside. He playing that guitar just like a black man do. And every song was like, got my white soap but a can over there, playing just like a black man. And that was a fun gig, man. People were just like, every time I played it, yeah. And but you know what that was for me was kind of a form of vindication that I was doing the right thing.
Yeah.
I wasn't playing rock and roll pretending it was blues. And when you got a blues crowd that knows blues saying you're doing a good job, then you're doing a good job. And
Well,
that's what meant
that is just great. That is.
That meant a lot to me. And of course, I saw my friend the next day. He goes, Ken, I'm mad at you. So why's that? He goes, you about stole my job. I'm not going to let you play that guy again because you're going to take my job if I ain't careful. I said, no, I'll never do that to you, sir. I just want you to know you almost stole my job. Is a way of saying they liked me,
Yeah.
He was a joker.
So as obviously as your whole career as a musician, what has been the lesson that has taught you, like as being a musician, that everybody should learn to that everybody should learn at some point in their life?
In life in general, as a
Yeah,
musician.
in life in general, or as a musician.
Like I said before, authenticity is a primary thing. I mean, you can't get you can get some places being a fraud, but you'll eventually get sniffed out like a stinky old turd.
Mhm.
Uh, if you're authentic, if people can, when they meet you, they know that you're the real deal in life, personality wise, um, artistically, you will get a lot further,
Yeah,
and you'll make a lot more meaningful, relevant contacts and relationships. Because every industry, it don't matter what industry, every industry is built on relationships. It doesn't matter what it is, unless you're a hermit. Then, but I mean, in every aspect of life, where there's two or more people that interchange with each other or engage in any kind of business or relationship, you gotta you're gonna have to present yourself in one way or another. And so, um, if if you're just honest and uh, caring person, then it will carry you a lot further. And, and that's like when I played for Larry Norman, and we were getting ready to go to one of our first big gigs. I mean, it's a big festival show with all kinds of famous people there. And he knew that I listened to some of these people's records, right?
right.
Of course, Larry had been my hero musically since I was maybe 13, 14 years old when I first heard him. And to get to play with him was just a mind blowing, never expected in my life experience. But I got to tour with him for 3 or 4 years.
Yeah.
And but he took me aside and said, "Okay, Kenny, before we go in here," he called me Kenny. Now, Kenny, before we go in here, I'm just going to tell you it's dangerous to meet your heroes because they might not stay your heroes very long.
Okay.
And he said, basically said, you know, I don't know if that, yeah, I don't know if you understand what he meant by that, but he
Yeah,
meant,
I think I got it. Yeah.
well, like if you go to somebody who you really like their music, you really looked up to them, and you realize that they're a complete jerk and that they just are just horrible people, then you might not want to listen to their music. And that happened to me one time that weekend when I met someone whose music I liked. I wasn't a big fan, but I liked his music. But when I met him, he was just a complete and utter jerk. And I met him 2 or 3 other times, and it's the same thing each time. But yeah, after that, like he offered, I asked him to autograph my guitar. And do you have a Sharpie? said, no, that's if you're signing instruments or you're signing autographs, you should have a Sharpie. Well, you're asking me for my autograph. You ought to have a Sharpie. I said, well, you know what? Don't worry about it. Well, I'm going to sign your guitar. I'll sign it. I said, no, I don't want you to. Well, I'm going to get a Sharpie. I'm going to sign it. And so he signed my guitar. I said, well, you know what? You just waste your time because I'm going to wipe it off. And so I went and wiped it off because I didn't want a signature on my instrument. I had a lot of other people sign it. But I mean, a majority of the people I met that weekend were wonderful people.
Yeah.
And a majority of them were just average people. They weren't famous. But uh, you know, a majority of the well-known people I met were really sweet people, but there's a couple of them that were just, you know, and after that, I knew what he meant, and that's the difference between being an authentic person and someone who plays a role as a musician, but is completely different when you meet them.
Yeah.
You know.
So speaking on the when you were saying, like, obviously, even if like two people were talking and like in any sort of relationship, whether business or like
Yeah.
or anything like that, the last time that you were on my show, what was the question? What was there a question that you wish I had asked you, and if there was, how would you have answered it?
Well, you asked me the one I wanted most, and the most embarrassing place I ever farted. Um, no, I mean he kind of covered it. I think he covered it pretty well. I mean, there's no question. I just have a burning desire to be asked anytime. You know, just whatever. Like, what's your shirt size? You know, no, it doesn't matter to me. Whatever you ask, you ask. You know, it's all good.
Yeah. Now, on the last episode, you kept mentioning your wife a lot. So, how did you two meet?
Well, she's from Kansas, which is about 500 miles from here. She grew up in Kansas. I grew up here. And I went to Indiana State. She went to Pittsburgh State in Pittsburgh, Kansas, not Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, spelled with an H. This is Pittsburgh minus the H, Pittsburgh, Kansas. And we met at a Christian Students Conference in Cincinnati.
Right.
And my ex had just broken up with me a month before, and I unknowingly impregnated her with my breakup baby, David. Um, but I met her just bouncing back off a bad relationship. And the minute I saw her, I was like in love with her. The very second I saw her eyes and her smile, and oh man, and she's still beautiful this day. She's more beautiful now than she was then. And I asked her if we could go for a walk, and she said yes. And from that moment on, we were pretty inseparable.
Oh, that's lovely. That's a lovely story.
Been married 33 years, brother.
Oh, wow.
I got one. Well, now I got three kids. Two of them are my exes and mine, and the younger one's my Marsha's and mine. But Marsha and I have two grandkids, and then my ex and I have three grandkids. So I
Yeah.
have five grandkids. But my wife claims my other kids and those other grandkids as her own too, and they call her Grammy Marsha. And David and no, now David calls her by her name, but my daughter calls her Mama Marsha. And so, but David and her get along great. I mean, we all, even my ex and I are still friends. We're still friends. In fact, I send her messages of stupid cartoons and ugly pets, and she says, "Will you stop sending me stupid cartoons?" I said, "No, you just asked for more." Uh, but we still talk about the kids and that and the other, and so we're still doing good. I mean, but that's how I met my wife. We met in Cincinnati of all places, which is further east for her than it's east of me, and it's even further east for her. But our colleges went to the same conference, and we just met that weekend.
Yeah. That's lovely. I like that. So, obviously, with your music being out there, and you were saying at the start that it's kind of a niche market for the music that you do and provide for everybody. If you could be remembered for one thing, what would you like to be remembered for?
My stunning good looks.
Your stunning good looks.
Yeah.
I'll take that.
And my epic masculinity.
Epic masculinity with your stunning looks. Okay.
Yeah. No, honestly, I just want to be remembered as a loving father and a loving husband, and that's enough for me. I mean, I like my music to be remembered, sure, but I mean that's secondary. Uh, my family and the way I treat other people is more important to me than my music.
Yeah.
And it just uh, if people remember me for my music, that's great. That'd be awesome. But I'd still want them to say, he was a sweetheart of a guy and just loved everybody, and that's important to me.
Yeah. Now, for everybody out there, I can testify myself that Ken is a lovely guy to talk to. I mean, he added me on Facebook, or was I added him? I can't remember. Either or. So we talk a little bit, quite a bit on Facebook, and he's always so lovely. He's always asking me like how my wife is doing, how my kid is doing, and all that. So he is a genuine guy, and if you want to get to know him a bit more, I highly suggest that you do, because he is a genuine guy, one of a dying breed of genuine, I would say.
I also do give hair care tips online.
Hair care tips as well.
As you can see, they work for me.
Yes. Right.
Oh, bless you, sir. I feel your pain, brother.
Yeah, don't know where that one came from.
Yeah.
So, are you going to play a little something on your guitar for us then?
Yeah, sure, I will. That's one I've written for my new album. Let's see what. Can anybody tell me where did my little girl go? Can anybody tell me where did my little girl go? Well, she might be down in Memphis or up in Chicago. Can anybody tell me where had my little baby gone? Well, can anybody tell me where had my little baby gone? Well, she walked out yesterday. Now I'm sitting here all alone. There's a little girl out there, need a big loving man to hold. There's a little girl out there, need a big loving man to hold. I'll keep you safe and warm when the winds get cold. Anybody tell me, where did my little girl go? Anybody tell me, where did my little girl go? She may be down in Memphis, oh, way up in Chicago.
That was wonderful. That was brilliant. I really enjoyed that. If you at home enjoyed that, then let me know. Put it down in the comments, or if you're listening to this on Spotify, leave me a little voice note and let me know if you enjoyed that or not.
Tried to sneak the Rocky Mountain Slide in on there.
That sounded incredible. I really enjoyed that, and I hope everybody at home listening or watching this enjoyed that as well as much as I did.
I'm getting used to playing this. The strings are so close to neck on this, and you got to not fret with this.
Yeah,
you got to just let it ride on the strings. And I'm used to pushing the slide down a little bit on strings. These slides are amazing. I love them. Doc Siegmeyer, you're a genius. He's the owner.
So, Ken, what is a piece of advice you would offer a musician trying to get into the field of music that you do, into the genre of music that you do?
Be a student first. You just can't jump into it. You got to understand, really, I mean, going back to Charlie Patton and like Blind Willie McTell, those guys, and going and just listening to these albums, the transformation of blues from the 20s and 30s up into the 60s and 70s on Chess Records. And even currently, there's a lot of great blues artists out now. That Johnny Lang is a good example of one. He does mix rock and roll into it. But Johnny Lang did an incredible version of Crossroads. Of all people, Cyndi Lauper. Cyndi Lauper is a magnificent blues singer. Holy moly, I never thought it, but she can wail on blues, man. She's outstanding. Her and Johnny Lang did an incredible version of Crossroads. And it's like this. It's like, yeah. Went down to the crossroad, got down on my knees. Went down to the crossroad, got down on my knees. Said, Lord, won't you help me? Have mercy if you please. I mean, it's like old school, It had
Yeah.
It wasn't like. It wasn't that. It wasn't a copy of that, which I thought was because so many people try to copy that, do the Cream version, that they forget that Robert Johnson did the original.
Yeah.
And then, but you can take. It's a blues song. There's nowhere written in stone. You got to play the Cream version of Crossroads. And sometimes I just freak people out when I do that. I go. Yeah. I get that. Went down to the crossroad, got down on my knees. I get into something like that, that don't sound like Crossroads.
So, Ken, we're coming up to near the end of our time here for this evening. So I've got a couple more questions for you.
All right, go for it.
Okay. Now, obviously, when you were last on the show, you did mention that you have done other interviews and you have done other shows before. So my question is, what has been the best show that you've been on, and why is it A Wee Touch of Madness, the podcast?
Honestly, I'm going to tell you the truth. You are the best show I've been on for a long time. I do like Steve Beer and his podcast, and I did another one. The only problem with the other one is that the sound wasn't, and we couldn't get the sound worked out, and it's an, you know,
Yeah.
and I did it here, but I think he just was overdriving the sound. So, but it took him a little while to work it out. But no, I mean, I just had a lot of fun with you, man. You're a blast. I think I just kind of, we kind of share a common spirit of absolute stupidity. And so, um,
A common
no,
spirit of
I think,
absolute
I think, I
stupidity.
think I think your podcast is incredible. I love being on here, and I'm gonna, as soon as we're done, I'm gonna reschedule. I mean, seriously.
Another scheduled booking.
Oh yeah. If you see me wincing, it's because sometimes I got to move my hip around after I pulled it out of socket in that accident, and it's not ever going to be right. But like I told my friend, uh, my best friend from school, we're talking about it. I said, well, you know what? I'm above ground and breathing, and so that's all that matters, right? A little bit of hip pain I can deal with.
Yeah.
So.
So,
But yeah, I mean, I could be on your podcast every day. I wouldn't care.
well, unfortunately, I don't do an episode every day, and unfortunately, my episodes are only every week.
Oh well, we can change that. Anyway, I call people, my brother and my sister, when I call them and I play, I just say I have a guitar in my lap. And, are you playing guitar while you're talking to me? Oh yeah, I'm sorry, I wasn't even thinking about it. We put that thing down. You can't. I can't talk to you while I hear you playing in the background. I said, well, no, you just hang up then. I'm not putting this down.
Yeah. So then, Ken, after the show and after it's gone goes out there to the public, and obviously you did mention at the start that you're currently working on a new album and all that at the moment.
Yeah.
But other than that, is there anything else that you're working on, or do you have any other plans that you're currently working on?
Well, I'm trying to start doing it. I'm trying to start getting into the house concert. The uh, house concerts. You know what those are?
I think so.
Basically playing in people's houses. They
Oh right,
organize
oh
parties.
yeah.
So it's like private concerts for their friends,
Yeah.
and that's what I'm trying to get into doing. So I've been sending out my EPK form letters to people all over the United States and some in Europe, and it's basically an introductory letter and a few links that they can listen to. But I'm into doing house concerts anywhere in the world. I just got to have my cost taken care of, and I'll be good.
Well, that's interesting. So, if anybody out there, if you're watching this, if you're interested in having Ken Tucker do a house concert at your home, then hit him up or hit me up, and I'll let him know. So then, with that, then Ken, I wish you all the well in that venture, and I hope that goes really well for you and for your album that you're working on. I hope to have you on again for that album, and we'll do an album release episode so we can go through each of the songs there.
You'll be the first one I let know.
Awesome, and I will hold you to that. So,
Yeah.
everybody, I hope you enjoyed this episode with me this week, and make sure you stay tuned for next week where I will have another guest on the show. And if you are out there and if you're a musician, an artist, a band, if you would like to come on the show, just go over to my Facebook page, We Touch of Madness, the video podcast, and book yourself a slot on the show. Just use the booking tool, book yourself a slot. As soon as I see it there, I will listen to your music. I'll find you on Spotify. I'll listen to your music. and then I'll confirm your booking. It's that easy. You don't need to send me links to music. I will find you. It's that easy to come on. And to clarify a couple of issues that have come up before, no, you don't have to pay to be on my show. Yes, it is completely free. No, I'm not lying to you. If you want to come on my show and promote your stuff, hit me up because I'm more than happy to do so. In the meantime, as I have said so many times, to quote Beth from Bitchin' Hour, that I'm stealing her sign off, stay sexy and don't get murdered. I will see you later.